Alright, quick test. Can you tell me the name of that giant chicken that beats the living daylights out of Peter Griffin whenever they meet? Or how about the name of the secretary for the mayor of Townsville? Some of you die-hard fans out there probably sprang up with the answer immediately. But for the rest of you, I'm pretty sure you know these characters, but you just can't quite remember their names. There's tons of characters like that in cartoons, and today we at Not Fair Studios have decided that these lovable characters are way too iconic to not even know their bloody names. And if there's anywhere that we need to go to find iconic cartoon characters that no one knows the name of, it has to be Bikini Bottom. Just think about it for a moment. There's so many characters in the Bikini Bottom that play such an iconic role in the show, yet not a single one of you knows their names. In fact, they've gone on to become a recurring meme on the internet that I'm sure everyone has seen at least once. Like this one.
What are they, vegetables or fruit? And what does that make, ketchup?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Or how about this one?
Hey, pal. You just blowing from Stupid Town?
These may all seem like one-off characters that pretty much never see the light of day again, but they're actually familiar faces that we see all over the show. But there's one fish that at least we know the name of for all the wrong reasons. Some poor background fish is just trying to live his life and something goes catastrophically wrong nearby. And without fail, from somewhere off screen, you hear it.
Rev up those fryers, cause I am sure hungry for one. Help! Help! My leg! Can't you see we're closed?
For the longest time, we all just call him the My Leg guy, but he actually has a name. How many of you would guess that his name is Fred? To be fair, it does sound like the kind of name that would go with a fish that has look this bad.
My leg! My leg! My leg! My leg! My leg! My leg! My leg!
My leg.
But is that his only name? I'm sure some of you have heard a surname floating around somewhere, right? Fred Wretched. Well, we don't promote false information on this channel. No matter how official it sounds, Wretched is a fan-made surname. Someone online came up with this, it spread from there, and ended up in a merch book. And now half the internet thinks that it's canon. The surname Wretched actually belongs to a completely different background character, Incidental 49A. Also known as Nurse Wretched. Fred's canonical name is just Fred. And hey, you can take Nurse Wretched as a bonus character. She's not as iconic as Fred, but she's just another sign that a lot more SpongeBob characters have names that you don't know about. And we're not done with them either, because SpongeBob has no business having this many background characters with names that nobody knows. And I refuse to leave until we've done at least 2 of them. You know the chocolate scene, right? SpongeBob and Patrick are trying to sell chocolate door to door, and there's one fish in this town who's been waiting his entire life for this moment.
Chocolate?
Chocolate? Did you say chocolate?
Yes, sir. With or without nuts.
Chocolate? Chocolate!
His name's Tom. Yeah, that's pretty f***ing anticlimactic for the guy who seems to have chocolate as his bloody trigger word. But there you go. It was confirmed in the Season 2 episode, Patty Hype, the same episode that gave us Fred's name. The two were named in the same bloody episode, and somehow neither of them have managed to stick in the public consciousness. His name is Tom, he loves chocolate a little too much, and he doesn't really appear to do much else. The reason I'm hammering it home is because we're about to leave Bikini Bottom and head to Springfield. And I need you to understand that the names that we're about to get into are way more remarkable than just Fred and Tom. I told you, we're just warming up. The Simpsons has been running since 1989. 37 years of television. In that time, the show has produced some of the most iconic supporting characters in animation history. And one of them spent 19 of those years without a name. You know him, ponytail, annoying voice, and the worst everything ever. The comic book guy. He's the living embodiment of a very specific type of insufferable that the internet has since made extremely mainstream. And he spent 3.5 decades being called comic book guy by literally everyone, including the writers.
Oh, loneliness and cheeseburgers are a dangerous mix.
His name is Jeff Albertson, and the way it got revealed is almost funnier than the name itself. The writers had intended to name him as far back as the first episode in season 2, but they kept putting it off because they couldn't agree on anything. 19 years passed. Then on February 6th, 2005, the same night as the Super Bowl XXIX, the show's most watched slot of the year, Comic Book Guy turns to Ned Flanders and casually says, "My name is Jeff Albertson, but everyone calls me Comic Book Guy."
Well, sir, I don't believe we've ever met.
My name is Jeff Albertson, but everyone calls me Comic Book Guy.
Well, I'll just call you friend.
Showrunner Al Jean said afterwards that they specifically chose a completely generic name to make fans angry. After 19 years of mystery, they gave him the name of a man who works in accounts receivable. It was also deliberately scheduled for Super Bowl night so the maximum number of people possible would see it and be disappointed together. So yeah, his name is Jeff Albertson, and if you hate it as much as we do, then that's the point. And without leaving Springfield, there's someone else who's gone unnamed for far too long, and we're making it our personal mission to make you feel things about that. The crazy cat lady is yet another pitiable character that shows up once in a while, does something bloody mental, and then disappears. That's the whole character. She's usually barefoot with wild eyes that make her look like she's been doing something illegal. And she's known for consistently launching animals at whoever makes the mistake of being nearby.
Marge, I did it. I found a woman to be your new friend. She's waiting in the living room.
Her name is Eleanor Abernathy, and despite how she looks, she's got a pretty tragic backstory that not a lot of people know about. In season 18, episode 13, a documentary filmmaker is making a film about how the residents of Springfield have changed over the years. And thanks to it, we find out that Eleanor used to be one of the most capable people in the entire town. She apparently earned a bloody medical degree from Harvard and a law degree from Yale by the age of 24. That's younger than I am now. Then, by 32, she'd suffered a complete burnout, so she turned to alcohol and became obsessed with her cat. By 40, she was the crazy cat lady.
I want to be a lawyer and a doctor, because a woman can do anything.
At 24, Eleanor had graduated from Harvard Medical and Yale Law.
The woman everyone laughs at for screaming in the streets was, at 24, more qualified than almost every adult on this show. It's played for laughs in the show, but it's also a really real depiction on how doing a lot with your life isn't always the greatest thing. Alright, enough of that. This isn't one of our more depressing videos. We've got plenty of those on our channel if you want to check them out. Let's get out of Springfield and head to South Park. We don't need to spend very few people knowing what Butters' name is on the school register.
Alright folks, this is the little boy we're looking for. Leopold Stotch, also known as Butters.
His full name is Leopold Stotch, and knowing his parents, we really can't imagine them giving him any other name. And yet, despite being the ones to give him this name, nobody, not even they, ever use it. He's been called Butters since the very beginning, and Leopold appears so rarely in the show that if you're not a die-hard fan, or you just watch the show casually, you might have never even seen it. Leopold Butters Stotch. The Butters part came from the production team's nickname for the real person he's based on. His actual name is Leopold. I'll leave you alone with that thought. Okay, we've gone through some of the most iconic background characters in shows, and some even more important characters like Butters. But there's one character who is the character of his show that we're sure you have no idea what his real name is. And if you do, then you'll be shaking your fist in glee that this one is about to become more mainstream. And who is this character, you may ask? Well, it's none other than Shaggy himself, the other half of the dynamic scaredy cat duo.
Give that valve a half turn, Scoob. Come on, Scoob, put some muscle into it.
And before you say anything, no, This one is not as well known as you think it is. I know you've seen memes about it and the internet has dunked on his name before, but I promise you, if you walked up to someone on the street right now and asked what they think that Shaggy's real name is, a lot of them would ask you why you think Shaggy isn't his real name. So now, if you were one of those people, you can show your cartoon superiority and spread the word that his real name is Norville Rogers. And to be fair, I would change my name if my parents had named me Norville too. No offense to any Norvilles in our audience, we love you all. But here's the bit that makes this even better. The name Norville didn't even exist when the character was created. He went nameless for years, or at least just with his iconic nickname. It wasn't until a writer named Tom Ruger made a prequel show called A Pup Named Scooby-Doo in the late 80s that anyone actually gave Shaggy a first name. And the name he chose was deliberately a nod to Oliver Norville Hardy. Oliver Hardy, one half of the most famous comedy duo in history. Norville, a comedy name from a comedy writer given to a comedy character. And by the way, the show has made jokes about this name within episodes themselves. Characters have called him Norville, and he's immediately told them to call him Shaggy. The character is aware his name is terrible. Onward now to Dexter's Laboratory, and just like Shaggy, this character has a name he really doesn't want you knowing about. You know him best as Mandark, Dexter's rival, and the evil genius that's trying to rule the world and win over Dee Dee with his iconic laugh. He's the thorn in the side of the greatest boy scientist of his entire generation. And in the original 2 seasons of the show, his name was Ivan Astronominov. Every time I say that, it takes me many attempts to record it. That's a pretty normal name for the kid, especially considering the setting of the show. But then things got revived with a different creative team for seasons 3 and 4. And the episode A Boy Named Sue, they rewrote his backstory entirely. His hippie parents, who wanted a name that was beyond the confines of society, named him Susan, which caused the baby Mandark to immediately burst into tears. He was smart enough as a literal infant to know that his name was not going to give him an easy life. This is what eventually caused his rivalry with Dexter. Dexter met him and couldn't tell if he was a boy or a girl. And when Susan revealed his name, Dexter burst out laughing. Honestly, that's a completely valid reason to start your supervillain origin story. And then we get to the one we personally have been most excited for. This character somehow beats Shaggy in how unexpected his name is, despite how important of a character he is. We're going to shift our focus to Goofy, the tall dog who's best friends with Mickey and Donald, and a father to Max.
Goofy, careful!
All right, now where's that timer button?
Everyone knows Goofy. In the 1950s, Walt Disney personally decided that Goofy needed to be reinvented. He felt the character had lost personality and wanted to give him more relatable human qualities. So for an entire decade of Disney short films, Goofy was transformed into a suburban everyman dad, dealing with the trials of everyday life. Things like dieting, giving up smoking, raising kids, catching colds, and crucially, in those cartoons, he was never once called Goofy. His name in those cartoons was George Jeef. And the thing that makes this even stranger is that the opening title card for every single one of those shorts still said Walt Disney presents Goofy. The cartoon would introduce him as Goofy, and then for the next 70 minutes, this man would be George Jeef. His wife called him George, but his son was Goofy Jr. The whole thing was a parallel universe that ran inside the same franchise.
Early to bed, early to rise. The average man's life is controlled by the clock. Work on time, home on time, bed on time. Up, work, home to bed.
Disney officially still uses Goofy Goof as his full name in modern media, with the GG likely being a nod to the George Jeef era. But for an entire chunk of mid-century animation, the most beloved clumsy dog in history was George Jeef, who lived in a suburb. Early cartoons were an interesting breed, I'll tell you that much at least. Take codename Kids Next Door. Cartoon Network 2002 to 2008. It's certainly more recent than the George Jeef era, but if not, just as interesting. 5 kids run a covert treehouse operation fighting against adult tyranny. And with an entire organization run by kids, what do you expect? Homework, bedtime, vegetables, they're all classified as crimes against humanity. And each kid spends their days fighting these things back. Each operative has a number, ranging numbers 1 through 5. Number 1 is the leader, and he has everything you'd expect from the leader of these band of kids. Bold, British, and takes everything too seriously.
Would you guys quit fooling around? This is serious. No hamsters, no power. Quick, tell number 4 to turn the truck around. I am number 4. Then who's driving?
Well, whether you remember this show like it's a core memory, or you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm pretty sure you didn't know that number 1's name is Nigel Uno. And we need you to sit with that thought for a second, because that name is one of the best puns in the history of children's television, and almost nobody clocked it. His name is Uno, which is obviously Spanish for 1. This kid was literally born to be number 1. But no, we can't just stop there, can we? Now that we know that number 1's name is literally 1, we have to go through all of the names of the kids. Every single operative's real name is a pun on their number. Number 5 is Abigail Lincoln, because Abraham Lincoln is on the $5 bill. Number 4 is Wallaby Beatles, because the Beatles had 4 members. Number 3 is Kuki Sanban, because Sanban means 3rd number in Japanese. Number 2 is Hoagie Gilligan, because he's the 2nd in his family with that name, and Gilligan is the 1st mate in Gilligan's Island. We can't even begin to describe how perfect this naming system is. And if you liked it as much as we did, make sure to let us know in the comments. And then finally, the last one. And I can guarantee, based on the cast that we've had so far, none of you expected this one. And yet, it's objectively the best one on the entire list, because this character has had his real name confirmed by himself on camera, in a song, backed up multiple times on social media, and roughly 98% of the people who grew up with this character had no idea. For the last entry, we're talking about Cookie Monster from Sesame Street.
Cookies! Yeah, you know, cookies! Oh, look, Cookie thinking about cookies too, yeah.
In 2004, Sesame Street aired a segment called The First Time Me Eat Cookie, in which Cookie Monster looked back on the day he discovered cookies for the first time. In this segment, before he ate his first cookie, he wasn't called Cookie Monster yet, because you wouldn't call someone Cookie Monster before they'd actually eaten a cookie. That would be insane. And so, in the song, he refers to himself with the line, "Me was just a mild-mannered little kid. In fact, me think me name back then was Sid."
Mannered little kid. In fact, back then, me think me name was Sid. Yeah.
The writer of that song, Christine Ferrero, later said it was written as a gag because it rhymed with kid and wasn't meant to be taken as hard canon. But from there, Cookie Monster himself has confirmed it multiple times. In 2010, the official Sesame Street Twitter account, speaking as Cookie Monster, tweeted, "Me wasn't born with name Cookie Monster, it just nicknamed that stuck. Me don't remember me real name, maybe it was Sydney." And then in October 2022, Cookie Monster tweeted again, "Did you know me name is Sid, but me still like to be called Cookie Monster." So yeah, while his name is Sid, I think you can all just stick to Cookie Monster. Clearly that's what he prefers. To be honest though, we think all of these characters would probably just prefer it if you call them by the name that everyone knows them as. Well, except maybe Crazy Cat Lady. I really very much highly doubt that anyone would enjoy that name. I mean, come to think of it, actually, would she even care? There we go, overthinking again. That's how most of these videos get made, from one crazy idea. Like the time we made a guide on how to avoid high school mean girls. You should go check that out if you need some help in that department. In the meantime, cheerio!